What's going on, guys? Welcome back to A&E Podcast.
Let's get right into the very beneficial.
Well, like something like that.
Good. See, and it's clear.
And you're spilling it all over his
Cans are hard to
All
Alright, ready?
Because I was just like, oh, look at them. Good for them.
What's your favorite or best performance? Who would you say are your favorites personally? Who is your favorite person to call? And also, if there's a difference, who's your favorite person to watch live? If it's not the same thing, what was your favorite call there?
Definitely my favorite so far. This is my favorite performance.
All right, what's going on, guys, and welcome back to another A&E episode. We're going to be hopping right into another NBA redraft. That's the 2009 redraft. Another arguably best draft class of 2000s. I don't know what else you could say. So we're gonna go ahead and start off at the number one pick, which was the Los Angeles Clippers. And they took a high flyer here instead of high flyer. I'm gonna go ahead and take the best point guard in the NBA, and that is Stephen Curry. He was the former number 7 pick, and yeah, again, there's not much to say. Man's a dominant, unanimous MVP, easily the best point guard right now. I know that Bailey is a huge Harden fan, who's another player in this draft, but I'm gonna take Harden and Curry at my 1.
I got nothing to say. Am I supposed to respond to you? I got nothing
You can
to
go
say.
ahead and tell me your pick if you'd like to.
I got nothing to say. My number one pick is one of the best players of all time, James Harden.
Evans. Oh, okay.
Who? Tyreek Evans. You were close. I actually have him at number 2. I'm kidding. I don't actually have him at number 2. James Harden. Obviously, I am a little bit biased, but I try to keep my feelings out of it all the time. Curry's had the teams, you know. You could argue that Harden's had the teams, but every team he's been on, he's had to deal with injuries. Obviously, the Warriors had their fair share of injuries, but they also have benefited from other teams' injuries. Curry just had the perfect situation to win championships. He's a 2-time MVP. Good for him. I think Harden should have more MVPs than he does, along with a lot of other people that aren't even exclusively Harden fans.
You know what's funny? I play for every as we've seen in the former episodes or the past episodes. I play by pick, and like who fits where. And I don't think that Curry fits too much in LA. I just don't think you could really pass him up. Like you look back at that team and they're drafting Blake Griffin, who was part of Lob City at one point, and that sort of defeats all of history in Clippers organization. They may get DeAndre Jordan, who knows? But it defeats the history of the Clippers or what happens in their organization. But they couldn't succeed with Lob City, so what's to say they can't succeed with Curry? You know what I mean?
No,
so
yeah,
be
sure.
an interesting change of events in NBA history.
Yeah, for sure. And then I'm not going to go on a whole rant about Harden and Curry. My number 2 pick, I got Steph Curry. I have appreciated him a little bit more in these past few years. I still think he is extremely overrated. He's an amazing player, but he's just not as good as people, I'm not going to use some explicit words here, but people like to, yeah, you know where I'm going with that. But, yeah, that's my number 2 pick, Steph Curry.
So we flipped and flopped there. I'm going to actually, and I went with fit here. I went with fit for the Memphis Grizzlies, taking James Harden at the 2 pick, former number 3 pick. Again, Memphis Grizzlies were an awesome team, and they never had that shooting guard. They had Tony Douglas, who amazing defender, one of probably the best defending shooting guards we may have ever seen. But James Harden would have that offense, and even if he did come off the bench, he proved that he was a great 6-man in OKC. So I think that James Harden at that 2, even if it's coming off the bench with Conley, Tony Douglas, Marc Gasol, and Zach Randolph, could have made the Grizzlies a better team than they were. But we're going to move on to number 3, which was originally Harden's pick. And I am going with another, I guess you could say, shooting guard small forward. That is DeMar DeRozan, who was a former number 9 pick. Can't shoot, but Russell Westbrook can't shoot either. And we saw how successful they were. Obviously, they didn't win a championship, but how successful KD and Russell Westbrook were. So if you give them a dominant defensive wing, can't shoot amazing, you could play in the post and get KD open. Again, you might be able to rewrite history, but a little bit of a better defender than James Harden. And I know that you don't like me saying that, obviously, but I think that
it's definitely true. James Harden is not like some.
He's a terrible defender, one of the worst defenders of all time.
Whoa. Whoa, that was a little bit too far. That was a little bit too far.
But
He's one of the best post defenders in the league, okay, and he's like 6'5". It's true. It's true. It's true. Try to score him in the post. You can't. Giannis can't even score
I
him in
would
the
hope I
post.
can. I'm 6'1" and 255 pounds. But again, I think DeRozan could, especially if you put him at the two. You play a bigger lineup with Ibaka, Kendrick Perkins, Kevin Durant, eventually Kevin Durant. Or no, Kevin Durant was on the team at this point. I think it was eventually Serge Ibaka, maybe, or was he the draft before? If they get him,
No, he
and
was a
then you
draft
could,
before, yeah.
yeah. So a young roster, then it would be a young roster of Westbrook, KD, DeRozan, Ibaka, Kendrick, and then the old Kendrick Perkins who averaged like 2 and 2. But
That'd be sick.
maybe DeRozan is that anchor on defense. So I took DeRozan at my 3.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. I got DeRozan at my 3 as well. I think he's just the best available player. He has those moments, man, where he just completely takes over games.
Yeah.
And like you'll watch him and you'll just be like, that could be Michael Jordan's kid. Like he literally has that mid-range game and those moments where it's just like, wow, this guy is special.
I think that would help KD get open as well. You're crashing down in that mid-range game, and KD's gonna stand a little bit one step out from the 3-point line and knock down that shot.
Yeah, exactly. So I agree with you 100% on that one. I got him at my number 3. At my number 4, I'm gonna go ahead with the more recent NBA champion, Drew Holiday. He's even today a very underrated player, amazing two-way player, amazing playmaker. Obviously, you saw he helped the Bucks win that championship. Without him, I don't know if they win the championship. Obviously, Giannis is amazing, Chris Middleton is good, but Drew really is the one that put them over the top for that championship run that they had. So
Sorry about that.
you're good.
Yeah, no. So I actually with my 4 pick, I went with the former number 1 pick, and that former number 1 pick is Blake Griffin. Again, Sacramento's on the clock, and I think that the prime of DeMarcus Cousins with the prime of Blake Griffin might have been what could have been one of the most dominant big men duos we've ever seen. Obviously, we saw DeMarcus Cousins later on in his career with Anthony Davis, who was also coming to I'm not going to say the end of his career, but close to, the end of his prime. And, at the time, I think they, right after this, just got up and coming Isaiah Thomas, who went on to be an all-star. They were okay. Ben McLemore was young at the time. They had Ben McLemore. But I think that Blake Griffin and DeMarcus Cousins would have been a dominant force if they played together in Sacramento. But going on to my 5 pick, I picked your number 4 pick, Drew Holiday, who was a former number 17 pick, which is even crazy to me.
Yeah.
But it blows my mind. See, this is what's crazy right now. So Minnesota's at 5, but Minnesota's also at 6.
Oh yeah.
So this could have saved Minnesota because Curry obviously went earlier in the draft now. This one pick, this Drew Holiday pick, could have saved Minnesota from taking Ricky Rubio and Johnny Flynn. Even Drew Holiday, who was a 17.
Yeah.
So I went with Drew Holiday here.
Yeah. At my 5, obviously I had Drew Holiday at my 4. At my 5, I went with your 4. We flipped on that one again. I had Blake Griffin. He had a very good prime. I would just say injuries are really what kind of shortened his career a little bit. He never really had like a team where he ran the show, kind of. Lob City was kind of his team, but it was him and Chris Paul and DeAndre Jordan.
It was, but if it was just Chris Paul, yes, it was definitely his team. But DeAndre Jordan took away from his highlight reel.
Yeah, and I mean he showed like he could kind of run a team on the Pistons when he had that little run with them, but that got cut short by injuries. So his prime was amazing. Would have been nice to see him have a longer career, but based off just that's why I got him at my 5. And going into my 6, I'm gonna go with. He was almost drafted here. Did the Timberwolves have the 6th pick too? You said.
Yeah.
Okay, so he was drafted here. He was originally drafted 5th though. Ricky Rubio.
Yeah.
Outside of the top guys here, I think we're more into the role player area of the draft now. So I think he's one of the best role players after the top 5 guys that I just said. Amazing floor general, amazing playmaker. If you need a point guard that's not a superstar, he was somebody that I would want to have on my team. He just makes everybody around him better.
He's a traditional defensive point guard, which I like.
Yeah.
It's gonna sound really weird. I'm not comparing him to this player, but he gives me a little bit of a feel of a John Stockton kind of player. He's passing the ball, he's playing defense, getting the steals. Obviously, he never turned out to be that kind of player that everybody hoped, especially at the fifth pick, or sixth pick. No, fifth pick. Fifth pick. Sorry about that. Especially at the fifth pick.
And being drafted over Steph Curry.
Yeah, and Johnny Flynn. Come on, why would you draft him over Johnny Flynn? No,
Oh yeah.
I'm just joking. But so that was your five. I'm gonna go on to my next Minnesota pick. And my next Minnesota pick, since I already took Drew Holiday at the 1, is going to be another defensive-minded player who was also in his prime before he got kicked out of the NBA, who was the number 4 pick, Tyreke Evans. Dominant when he was younger, man. He was a dominant player. He was insane. And I think that imagine the Minnesota team with Drew Holiday, Tyreke Evans, Kevin Love. That could have been a force to be reckoned with, especially at the 6th pick. He was the former number 4. Sacramento took him. He dominated with Sacramento. And I think that if he was playing with a person like Kevin Love who could get him open more, and a player like Drew Holiday who defends just as well as him, again, I think that Minnesota could have been a force to be reckoned with later on in their careers. But with that being said, I'm going to move on to my 7th pick, which is Golden State. And with Golden State, I took the former 46 pick, a Queens legend, St. Mary's Pride, Danny Green. What has to be said about this? The Warriors are an organization that was built around shooting. Think about every player in the history they've had was a shooter. At some point, they were a shooter. You know what I mean? So Danny Green is the past day Klay Thompson. He has the same kind of role, defensive 3 guy, and who knows how he could have developed in that organization depending on who their point guard was. So I went with Danny Green at my 7.
Okay, I have to say here, I've made a mistake. I've made a terrible mistake. So I have on my list here, I'm going to show you guys, so I'm not making this up. I wrote all the names for all the guys that I was going to put on my list, right? And as I ranked them, I would cross them off,
Okay.
So I wrote down Tyreke Evans, and I have him crossed off. But for some reason, he's not on my list. So I don't know what I did.
You did what the NBA did with him, and you kicked him right off the list.
I guess it's poetry. I guess
so.
But yeah. So, look, I don't know if you guys can see that, but it says Tyreke Evans up there. So I'm not making it up. I guess my mind meant to write him down, and I didn't write him down. I don't know what happened. Sorry for that. But I probably would have had him where you had him at what would you have him 7?
Tyreke I had 6, Minnesota.
Okay,
2nd Minnesota.
6. Okay, because I already went through my 6.
Yeah.
So I probably would have had him at my 7 then.
Okay.
But instead, what were you gonna say? Sorry.
I said that was my Danny Green pick, the 7th pick with the Warriors.
Okay. So I probably would have had Tariq at my 7, which moves everybody down 1. But I'm not gonna do that because that's complicated. So sorry, Tariq.
I'll make
my
sure
7,
I said sorry.
At my 7, I also have Danny Green. You pretty much explained it better than I could.
Yeah.
NBA champion for 3 different teams.
Mhm.
Played a key part in all those teams. So I mean that shows something. Amazing shooter, amazing defender, key role player.
Starter for every one of those teams as well.
Yeah. Yep. And then I'll jump into my number 8. I'm gonna go with Jeff Teague here. Yeah. Wow.
That surprised me. Go ahead. I'll explain mine after.
Is there somebody that's that much better than him?
In my opinion, yes. I'm maybe not career statistically, but in my opinion, yes.
Well, I'll see that when you get to it, I guess. But yeah, Jeff Teague. He's another guy that was he had a really good prime. Obviously that Atlanta team, those guys were dominant. They worked so well as a unit, and I guess that's kind of why I have him more up than I should probably.
Mm-hmm.
But that team just worked really well, and he was pretty much not the leader, but he still ran that team.
He was a point guard.
Yeah, so he ran that team, and he was amazing floor general for them, and he had a little bit of longevity, so that's where I got him.
So the 8 was the Knicks pick. And in my mind, the Knicks just need that energetic player. They need that person that's going to get them, hyped up. regardless of how good they are. Like a player like Obi Toppin currently, Obi Toppin came in for one playoff game against the Hawks, and it's the only playoff game they won because of 2 dunks. It gets the crowd going. And with my 8 pick, I went with the original 42nd pick, a player that was crying after winning a play-in game, and that is the GOAT himself, Patrick Beverley. So again, like I said, that it's the energy. That's why, again, I don't think that maybe career-wise he's not better than Jeff Teague, but I don't know. You know what I mean? Carmelo Anthony's coming to the team eventually, and you have a defensive-minded point guard there with Pat Bev, who's not the worst shooter in the world. He's not going to take off the shots from Melo. Melo's going to appreciate it. He's going to get the ball back on defense and give it to Melo. So I think that, again, I went very, very much with fit here, especially going down the line, because Pat Bev is not going to make you a playoff team. That trade will probably still go down. So I went Pat Bev because of energy. And it's funny because with my 9, I took another point guard, the former number 5 pick, and this is pre-Kyle Lowry Toronto, and that is Ricky Rubio. Like you said, Ricky Rubio is a good traditional point guard, pre-Kyle Lowry era. Team wasn't very good. Andrea Bargnani was probably the best player there, who had potential looks, and who knows, maybe Rubio could have been that asset to feed him the ball more. Again, same thing that Pat Bev does: play defense, get him the ball, play defense, get him the ball, and maybe shift our Andrea Bargnani's career as well.
Yeah, Patrick Beverley, obviously that's my guy. I loved Patrick Beverley. He's a Rockets legend. Love that guy. I would not take him over Jeff Teague, though. At least prime for prime, I guess. I see what you're saying about like the energy and the defense.
I think that if it was a different team with the pick,
yeah.
I would say yes or no. But no, being from New York, we're not even Knicks fans, but you don't want a boring point guard like that. Regardless of how good he was in his prime, if you get a player like Carmelo Anthony coming, do you really care about having Jeff Teague, or do you guys care about having a guy like Patrick Beverley, who's that pesky player?
Okay, well, would you rather have? I'm going to ask you this then. Would you rather have Chris Paul or Jose Alvarado? Who would you rather have? That's like the same question. Get out of here, bro.
That's not the same. See, that's not the same question. You're asking maybe a top 10 to 15 point guard all time to a guy that's from New York. He's a New York legend.
That's the same. That's the same play styles.
Comparison.
That's the same play styles.
Play style and comparison.
That's the same play styles.
Okay, Brian Scalabrine has the same play style as Kobe Bryant. He doesn't, but you know what I mean. Like, you could sit here and say play style all you want, but my thing is Patrick Beverley has proved that he's that player that's going to help you. First of all, get to the playoffs. Just about every team he's been on has been a playoff contender. And in New York, you want that energy. You don't want a boring guy like Jeff Teague. Jeff Teague was only an all-star that one season. And that one season,
and Patrick Beverley was never an all-star.
That one season, Kyle Korver was an all-star. I'm pretty sure he was only averaging like 8 points a game.
Patrick Beverley was never an all-star. I love Patrick Beverley to death.
Bro, Paul Millsap was an all-star that year.
Paul Millsap was a great player that year.
No, he was not, bro.
What?
That team was a regular season. That team was a regular season legend team. They were one of the best regular season teams you ever saw, and they got bounced in the playoffs. That's why
by LeBron James.
I don't care.
The greatest player of all time.
I don't care. Second, but yeah, I don't care, dude.
No.
What I'm saying is Patrick Beverley brings the energy. He's gonna get your guys hyped up. He's gonna be that determining factor in late situation games if he doesn't foul out. But if he gets that one big stop by Patrick Beverley, and your entire role changes. He took again, it was a playing game, but that Timberwolves team wasn't supposed to be that good. Yeah. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, he's that energy. He's that person that if somebody has their head down, he's gonna be the first person to go over and say, "Yo, get your head up." You know what I mean? Like, he's that captain, that leader there. And again, Melo doesn't want to play with Jeff Teague, man. You're going to get Melo eventually. He's going to want to play with an energetic guy who's going to get him the ball. And I get Jeff Teague could get him the ball, but he's going to take away touches. Look at Melo, how selfish he was with Jeremy Lin when Linsanity happened. He didn't care about the success of Jeremy Lin. He wanted to play.
Okay, yeah.
So that's why I did that. And it's funny.
Again, I'm going for best available. You're going more for fit. So it's understandable. But I'll hop into.
You're at 9, is right? I believe you're at 9 now.
Yeah, I'm at 9.
Okay.
So with my 9, I went with Patty Mills. Very integral part of those Spurs championships. Very good bench player for them. Pretty much did it all. He could shoot a little bit. He was a great defender. He's another one of those like pesky type of guys. You don't really want to be defended by him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Aussie. He's an Aussie.
Yeah.
Him and Ben Simmons are boys.
Yeah. And those these guys, this is a very good like international
draft.
class a little bit. Because when you see Ricky Rubio in like the Olympics, nobody wants to see Ricky Rubio in the Olympics.
No.
That guy's an Olympic legend, and
It's
so
funny
is
though, because
Patty Mills.
even right now in Ricky Rubio's career last year, he got hurt on the Cavs, and everybody was like, "That's a huge loss." And it's funny because
Because it was.
you're not saying that about a lot of vets in the league, especially like
Yeah.
you don't think Ricky Rubio is that big of a loss on your playoff team, you know?
Yeah.
Like this is a team with all young players that are going, "Oh, Ricky Rubio is that huge loss for us." So it's funny, but I get what you're saying. Ricky Rubio, you're watching him in the Olympics. You know, I believe he was playing with Pau and Mark, correct?
I believe
On
so.
Spain?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So you're not worried about him in the Olympics. You're worried about Pau and Mark.
But okay, so Patty Mills at 9. I'll jump into my 10. I finally have my guy Patrick Beverly. You explained it best. High energy guy, amazing defender. He gave KD trouble. KD is 7 feet tall, and Patrick Beverly is like 6 foot, and he was in KD's head. That's all I'm going to say about him.
That's
I
going
love
back.
that guy.
That's going back to what you said. I know you and I have had this conversation where Melo's not a good defender. So imagine now you take Melo off the best player on the team and you put Patrick Beverly on him.
Well, Melo's not a good defender now. I mean,
He wasn't always the best defender though.
He was never a great defender, but like now he's actually a horrible defender.
Yeah, but I mean, even back then he wasn't the best defender.
No,
But
yeah.
you have a guy like Pat Bev that's getting in his head, and then after you get in his head already, you go, all right, Melo, go guard him now. And now he's already frustrated. He doesn't want to play.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna move on to my 10, which is the Bucks, and I'm actually going with the former 10 pick, Brandon Jennings, lefty point guard, scoring machine. Bucks are in full rebuild mode, and Brandon Jennings, his prime didn't last long, but his prime was interesting, fun to watch. They got rid of him very shortly after the draft. It wasn't too much longer. He went straight to Detroit, I believe they sent him. But fun player to watch. I actually watched him versus Melo's first game in New York. I don't know, just like it's a fit that I wouldn't change just because of how good he was in this organization. Him and Monte Ellis were a good 1-2 combo with Andrew Bogut before Bogut snapped his leg completely. But again, fun to watch. I'm going to leave him at 10. My 11, I'm going to go into the New Jersey Nets, and I'm going to take another small point guard because they already had Jason Kidd. That small point guard is the GOAT himself, the former 18 pick Ty Lawson. As a Nuggets fan, I love Ty Lawson. Good offensive point guard. Very good offensive point guard. Eventually, I believe it was maybe the year after they get Brook Lopez. So Ty Lawson, who could average 8-9 assists and still give you 19 points a game, with a player like Brook Lopez, who's the leading scorer in Nets history. Why not? Why not do the offensive combo? Brook became a little bit of a better defender as the years went on. But you throw Ty Lawson into that, you give them Richard Jefferson. Cool. Let it rock. And Ty Lawson is going to be at my 11.
Okay, yeah. As a Rockets fan, I can appreciate Ty Lawson. I did kind of expect him to come in that one year. I was like, oh, this is our year. We got Ty Lawson.
Well, he was amazing on the Nuggets, man.
No, that's why I was so hyped for him to come to the Rockets, bro. But he wasn't amazing on the Rockets. But I still love him. Still love the guy.
Can't hate him.
Can't hate on him. Can't hate on him. So going into my number 11, I have Darren Collison. Very solid guy. I feel like that's all I could really say.
Good shooting point guard. Small, but he's good shooting point guard.
Yeah, good. Just another point guard, Like
very,
a lot of these. This is a very point guard draft, I guess.
I was about to say it's a very heavy point guard draft.
Yeah. So there's not much to say about him that I haven't said about everybody else. He's just not as good as everybody else, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I got him at 11. Then at my 12, I got your guy Ty Lawson. Pretty much the same boat as Darren Collison. Good shooting, small point guard. He's quick.
Yeah.
That's that.
Good point guard. He's great. You can't not like the guy.
Yeah.
Fan favorite. I'm gonna go into my number 12, and with my number 12, Charlotte, I took the original 12 pick. So he got drafted here actually, and that's your boy Jeff Teague. I believe they traded him actually. So if he was on Charlotte, he wasn't there for long. But Charlotte is known for not having a good team for like this entire 10 years of this generation, and being the worst team basketball's ever seen at this point.
Has Charlotte ever had a good team?
No, I mean they had Miles Bridges before he. I'm not gonna say it.
Okay.
But I don't know. I think that Jeff Teague. I mean, Kemba was drafted after him, so maybe that takes them away from drafting Kemba and drafting Big instead. You know what I mean? Right? I believe Kemba was drafted after, right? I feel like Kemba was in the 11 draft, maybe if I'm not
That was
mistaken.
my guess. That was my
I
guess
didn't say
too.
11. I gotta look more into that. But if that prevents them from taking Kemba possibly and taking somebody, that could actually help out Jeff Teague, who's now a scorer, that's not Michael K. Gilchrist, and maybe they're a good team. Maybe Michael Jordan doesn't fail at anything but basketball. So I went with Jeff Teague, and then with my 13, which is Indiana, I went with Patty Mills. Like you said, you explained Patty Mills, and I don't disagree at all. I think that you'd be throwing him eventually in here with Paul George, and that takes away from having to get George Hill. And I think that Patty's better than George Hill. I think that Patty is a good pesty defender, good shooter. And I think that him with Paul George probably could have been amazing to watch as well, especially Danny Granger in his prime. So my 13 was Patty Mills.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. But I love matching people up with Paul George. Paul George is one of my favorite players in the league. And just like imagining him having so many different players around him. I love to think about stuff like that. But going into my 13, I'm on 13, right?
Yes. How
Okay.
many picks did you go up to, by the way?
I went up to 17.
Okay. I went up to 18. All right.
Okay. There was not 18 players that should be on this list.
Yeah, you'll see. All right.
You're gonna say a complete bum. You're gonna say a complete bum.
Go ahead.
My 13, I got Taj Gibson. Solid power forward. Good defender, very good defender. That's pretty much it, really. Not an amazing offensive player. I mean, just good, high energy defender. Gives his all every play. That's all you could really
He's a
ask
good
for
mid-range
from him.
shooter.
What?
You can shoot from mid-range a little bit.
Yeah. He's definitely not what's his name? He's not Joakim Noah. So he could shoot a little bit, but he's still not great. But like I said, high energy, gives his all every play, great defender. I'm gonna take him at my 13. Everyone for the rest of the list is pretty much just like bench, end of the bench role players, really.
I mean, you could, if you want, you could just go through your list real quick, and then I'll finish up mine.
Yeah, sure, if you want,
Okay.
want
we
that.
could just do that.
All right, word. So then at my 14, I got DeMarre Carroll. That Hawks team pretty much carried his career. But he was, decent guy. 15, we got James Johnson. Very high energy defender. What did I just say? 15?
15, yeah, 16, 17.
Okay. 16, I went with Brandon Jennings. You talked about him a little bit before earlier. I just think he wasn't that good to draft that high, especially over some of the people you had him over.
Yeah.
He, like you said, he had a very short career. It was fun to watch, but didn't really mean much.
Yeah.
And then at 17, I went with Wayne Ellington, solid 3-and-D guy.
He plays his role well.
What'd you say?
He plays his role well.
Yeah.
That's all.
Not much more you can ask from him.
No.
So
in my 14, mind you, before you go ahead, there was 18 players because you forgot Tyreek Evans. So
you're right.
My 14, I went with Phoenix, Taj Gibson, as you said, the former 26 pick, good power forward. Something that they've lacked, especially recently. And I'm surprised I didn't take him here at the 8th pick with the Knicks because, the Knicks just love to bring him back for some reason.
He'll be back next season.
Yeah, so he'll do his retirement year in the Knicks. But with my 15, Detroit, Darren Collison, again, three-point point guard, small, gives a little bit of energy. Detroit wasn't always known for their guards, so I mean, why not? Until recently with Cade, why not just take the chance on him? They had Chauncey, so I can't say they're not known because in the mid 2000s it was Chauncey, but I think that
and Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah, but I'm talking about semi recently.
Yeah,
prior to Cade Cunningham and after Chauncey Billups, if you should say.
Whoa, don't disrespect Reggie Jackson, man.
Yeah, right.
Reggie Jackson.
Yeah.
Reggie Jackson, Detroit Pistons legend right there.
With my 16 Chicago, Wayne Ellington, which I believe he was actually on. Or no, I'm sorry, that was Denzel Valentine. I'm losing there. Two D, 3 and D guys that play the exact same role, both average like 5 points on their career. So, so I got them mixed up. But Wayne Ellington, former 28 pick, taking him 16. 17, Philly, James Johnson eventually ended up there, played his role well there. You know, he's a guy that you don't want to mess with. One of those guys that's going to be there for his teammates. He was on, I believe, I want to say Toronto with DeRozan, Kyle Lowry, Patrick Patterson, and Valanciunas. And you know, that team was a force to be reckoned with, especially down low. You don't want to go down low on that team. They beating everybody up down there, you know. So, and then 18, I took Damari Carroll with Minnesota. And you know what's funny, actually, Damari Carroll on Minnesota here would complement Drew Holiday and Tyreek Evans earlier in the draft. And I think
That's true.
you know, he would be a good fit there, going from 28 to 18, 10 picks
That'd be
higher.
a great fit, yeah.
Yeah, so you know, you get the 3-4 guy that you need, and Tyreek Evans, Drew Holiday, play the 1 and 2, and put Kevin Love at the 5.
Yeah.
Do whatever you need there. Keep him at the 4 and play Pekovic at the 5. But yeah, so again, 18 players that I think should have been drafted higher than they were. The only player that I have here that was in the same spot is Brandon Jennings and Jeff Teague, both 10 and 12.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's going to do it for the 2009 draft. We do have another draft coming up very shortly, so stay tuned for that. And that is going to be probably the most controversial draft between Bailey and I. So make sure
I don't know.
for that.
I don't know. This next one might be pretty controversial too.
That's what I'm talking about. The 2014 one, man. We're doing 2014. It's going to be very controversial between Bailey and I. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. Yeah. And we'll catch you next time. Peace out, guys.
Peace.